The morning sun had barely risen over Riverside Zoo when Dr. Sarah Mitchell received the call. One of their largest residents, an 18-foot green anaconda named Bella, hadn't eaten in over 3 weeks. For a creature known for its voracious appetite, that was alarming. When Sarah arrived, the reptile house was quiet, unnervingly so. Bella lay motionless in her enclosure, her emerald scales dull under the artificial lights. But what caught Sarah's eye wasn't Bella's stillness. It was this strange, unnatural bulge in the middle of her body. It wasn't shaped like anything she'd ever seen swallowed by a snake. "Tom," she called, motioning to the senior zookeeper. Has she refused every feeding? Tom Bradley scratched his neck, his expression uneasy. "Rats, chickens, even a rabbit last week. She won't touch anything, just coils up and stares at the wall." Sarah frowned. That wasn't typical behavior for Bella or any anaconda. Something was very wrong. "We need to get her to the veterinary unit. Now." It took 6 handlers to safely transport Bella to the facility. The air in the exam room was thick with tension as Sarah ran her gloved hands along the snake's belly. The bulge felt too firm, too angular, not organic. She exchanged worried glances with the team. "I'm ordering an ultrasound," she said. "If it's an obstruction, we have to act fast." Within an hour, a specialist from the state university arrived with advanced equipment. The ultrasound probe glided across Bella's scales, projecting blurry, distorted shapes on the monitor. But the image was useless. Whatever was inside her was too dense. Sarah's gut twisted. "We'll have to x-ray." When the machine hummed to life, the room fell silent. As the shadowy outlines began to form on the monitor, Sarah's hand froze. She leaned closer, eyes widening. The shape was unmistakable, a hard, curved dome, smooth at the top and ridged underneath. It wasn't a mammal or a bird. It was a shell, a tortoise shell. Sarah stepped back, her pulse pounding. "Oh my God," she whispered. "This can't be happening." Zoo Director James pushed through the door, confusion on his face. "What's going on?" She pointed at the screen, her voice barely steady. "That's not food. That's a radiated tortoise, one of the endangered ones from the conservation exhibit." The room fell into stunned silence. Those tortoises were worth tens of thousands of dollars, but more importantly, they were part of a breeding program for a species on the brink of extinction. "How did this even happen?" James demanded. Sarah didn't have an answer, but someone would. The zoo fell into chaos. Within hours, investigators arrived to piece together how a critically endangered tortoise could end up inside the stomach of a giant snake. The reptile house was sealed off, staff questioned, and all security footage reviewed. "Doctor," Sarah stood outside Bella's enclosure, still shaken. The image of that shell on the x-ray haunted her. She'd worked with animals for years, seen everything from infections to fractures, but nothing like this. Bella wasn't the villain here. She was just an animal following instinct. Someone's negligence had caused this. The footage didn't take long to reveal the truth. Friday night, 10:43 p.m., zookeeper Tom Bradley appeared on screen. He was locking up for the evening, but in his rush, he skipped one enclosure, the radiated tortoise pen. Then, less than an hour later, another camera caught something terrifying. Bella, the massive anaconda, sliding silently through the open gate of her exhibit. The rest was inevitable. Tom had filed a report the next morning claiming the tortoise had been stolen by a visitor. But now, watching the footage, his story collapsed. Sarah felt anger boiling beneath her calm exterior. The tortoise hadn't been stolen, it had been eaten. Police arrived that afternoon. Tom stood by the staff lockers, pale and trembling. "It was an accident," he kept saying. "I didn't mean, I just forgot to lock it." But the detectives weren't buying it. As they searched his locker, they found something worse, an insurance form already filled out for the missing tortoise, claiming theft and listing its value at $30,000. It wasn't negligence anymore. It was fraud. When officers led him away in handcuffs, the entire zoo staff stood in stunned silence. Sarah didn't feel satisfaction, only sadness. Years of trust, broken by one person's greed and carelessness. Inside the medical unit, Bella remained still. Her breathing was shallow, the radiated tortoise's remains were pressing against her organs, and without immediate surgery, she wouldn't survive. "Let's save her," Sarah whispered. The procedure took hours. Under bright surgical lights, Sarah and the university specialist worked in silence, sweat dripping down their foreheads as they carefully removed the lifeless shell from Bella's stomach. The moment the object was lifted out, the room seemed to exhale. Bella's heart rate steadied. The danger had passed. Days later, news of the incident spread worldwide, headlines calling it the zoo scandal no one saw coming. The story shocked readers not because of the money or the crime, but because of the reminder it carried, that carelessness can destroy what we're meant to protect. When Sarah finally walked past Bella's enclosure again, she stopped. The great snake had coiled up beneath a heat lamp, her scales once again glimmering in soft green hues. Sarah smiled faintly. "You're okay now," she whispered. "None of this was your fault." She turned to leave, knowing this story, Bella's story, would forever serve as a warning. Not every predator hides behind fangs. Some wear uniforms and keys.